this morning and afternoon session over the next 90 minutes. Really excited for today's session. We have an excellent program of speakers who will be sharing their insights on the opportunities for business which are available within the province of Mpumalanga. Our speakers come from the Mpumalanga government, the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria, the General Electric Southern Africa, as well as the U.S. Embassy the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, my apologies. Please note that today's webinar is being live streamed on the Mpumalanga Province YouTube and is also being recorded. If you'd like to connect with us during the session today, please connect with us via our social media. Our Twitter handles are at RSA in DC, at Mpumalanga Gov, and at US Chamber Africa. I'd also just maybe like to highlight that in the interest of keeping within our 90 minutes, we're not going to read out the full speakers' bios. However, everyone should have received this as well as the investment prospectus for Mpumalanga in an email this morning. Should you not have received that, we can follow up again with you post-event. In this pack, you should have also received the contact information for the various offices for any business, trade, and investment follow-ups post-event. At this point, I would like to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Her Excellency Noma India Mfeketo, who will share the opening remarks for today's session. She will also then welcome our guest of honor, the Premier of Mpumalanga. Ambassador Mfeketo has been the ambassador to the United States for South Africa since March 2020. She has led the embassy very ably and capably over the last 2 years as we've navigated the COVID-19 pandemic. Prior to joining the embassy, Ambassador Mfeketo occupied positions as the Mayor of Cape Town, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament for South Africa's 4th Parliament. She was also the Deputy Minister for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, and prior to joining us as Ambassador was the Minister for the Department of Human Settlements. Ambassador, thank you so much for opening today's session. We really look forward to hearing from you. Handing over the reins to you to open up the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Program Director. Premier of Mpumalanga, Honorable Refilwe Mtsweni Tsipane, members of Executive Council and heads of departments, heads of mission, government officials, business community, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good day and thank you for joining us today. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this business roundtable discussing with the province of Mpumalanga. Honorable Premier, thank you for making time to engage with us, the US business community, this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to place a spotlight on the place of the rising sun and to showcase the beauty and numerous opportunities that are to be found here. Mpumalanga is blessed with an abundance of land which makes the province a critical agriculture basket for Southern Africa. The province is rich in natural mineral resources which form the backbone of the region's mining industry and just energy transition to a green economy. In equal measure, Mpumalanga has an immense natural beauty which makes it unforgettable tourist destination and site for investment into tourism infrastructure. I'm only touching on some of the sectors that our speakers will elaborate on during this session. Today's webinar is as much about sharing information as it is about cultivating a platform for two-way trade and investment between the United States and the Mpumalanga. South Africa and the United States share a long history of diplomatic, commercial, and social relations, with the US being a major trading partner and a key investor for South Africa. As the global community sets out to build back better, following the socio and economic devastation brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, there has never been a better time for our countries to strengthen economic collaboration. The pandemic has stripped us of much. However, it has also reminded us of our inevitable connectedness and the value which lies in partnering together to achieve equitable and sustainable socio-economic growth. We hope that through this roundtable, the US and international business community will consider taking advantage of opportunities in Mpumalanga. I would like to thank our partners, the US Chamber of US Africa Business Center and the American Chamber of Commerce in South Africa. Thank you to our friends at the US Embassy in Pretoria and the business community through General Electric and Deere for sharing their experiences, of which with and doing business in Mpumalanga. I would like to thank my colleagues across South Africa, in particular the mission, who have supported today's lessons through promoting the webinar in their respective host countries. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like now to introduce our guest of honor to deliver the keynote address. Premier Rafilwe Mtsweni-Tsipane has an accomplished political record, having honed her skills through various leadership positions in the African National Congress, Women's League, and the African National Youth League, Provincial Executive Committee, amongst others. Premier Mtsweni-Tsipane has acquired extensive experience in policy formulation and implementation processes across the different spheres of government. She has served as a member of the provincial legislature since 2014, has been a chairperson of the Select Committee on Women, Children, and People with Disability, the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Human Settlement, and a member of the Executive Council on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs from 2014 to 2018. Premier Mtsweni-Tsipane was elected to a current position as Mpumalanga's Premier in March 2018. Premier Mtsweni-Tsipane has an intimate knowledge of her people and province. She is amply qualified with postgraduate degrees in management from the University of Pretoria as well as leadership and governance from the University of Witwatersrand School of Business. Premier, a warm welcome to you. Before I give you the floor, there's somebody very important that I forgot here, Mr. Neil Diamond, whose Mpumalanga is also his place. I'm sure he's coming here to strengthen what we're doing today. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Maggie Mfegeto. Let me pass our greetings to your good self, our ambassador to the USA, Maggie India Mfegeto, the MEC for Finance, Economic Development and Tourism, Mr. Vusi Mkhatshwa, members of the Executive Council who are in our midst, representatives from the US Embassy in Pretoria, the representatives of the US and SA Business Council, our business leaders, distinguished guest speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen. And we must also indicate that we are very much excited to be reunited yet again with our members of our community. Mr. Neil Diamond, welcome, and it's very good to see you today. You've been with us in the province, you know our province very well, and it's good seeing you today. Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. Program Director, it is a pleasure for me to take this opportunity and once again welcome you all to this Mpumalanga US Business Roundtable. On behalf of the Mpumalanga Provincial Government, I wish to express our gratitude to Ambassador Mfegeto and her team for making this roundtable a reality. We wish to thank her for the patience as this event was initially scheduled to happen last year, but due to reasons beyond our control, it could only take place in 2022. Allow me to also take this opportunity to thank MEC Vusi Mkhatshwa and his team of officials at the Mpumalanga Economic Growth Agency and the Office of the Premier for their sterling work in organizing this roundtable. Program Director, this month of July is a very important month for us, and in particular for our people as we commemorate the birth of our icon, Utata Nelson Mandela. We and the rest of the world are proud of his sterling role in laying the foundation for the long-standing relationship between South Africa and the United States. Today, we note how South Africa is the leading recipient of US foreign direct investment in Africa, with more than 600 US companies established across the length and breadth of our country. In 2019, the US Chamber of Commerce's US Africa Business Center announced plans to revitalize its US South Africa Business Council with the intent of doubling American commercial investment in the region by 2025. As the province of Mpumalanga, we wish to welcome your participation in our economy. The province of Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun, is ready for this business. Mpumalanga is home of more than 4.6 million residents, roughly about 7.8% of the national total population, and is the 5th biggest regional economy in South Africa. We are a diverse and resource-rich regional economy. Our strategic location between the Kingdom of Eswatini and Mozambique makes us one of the most attractive trade and investment destinations in Southeast Africa. This is a province ready for business, and attracting foreign domestic investment constitutes an important component of our development objectives. As we will be outlined, as it would be outlined by the MEC and also illustrated in the various presentations, we are a province with clear comparative advantage in the following economic sectors: in the mining and quarry, the electricity, gas, water, agriculture, forestry, and fishing. The scenic beauty of our region and the diverse flora and fauna have also made tourism an important competitive sector of our economy. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, Mpumalanga is a regional economic powerhouse in a country that is one of the most sophisticated, diverse, and promising emerging markets globally. We are part of a country characterized by political and macroeconomic stability, where the rule of law is respected alongside an independent judiciary. We also have, amongst other legislation, the Protection of Investment Act of 2015, which codifies typical bilateral investment treaty provisions into domestic law, whilst ensuring consistency with the South African Constitution. This act is essential to our positioning as a safe and sustainable investment destination for foreign direct investment. Without a doubt, we do experience sporadic service delivery protests. However, much progress has been made in addressing such difficulties. If I may cite an example, the South African cabinet, led by our President Cyril Ramaphosa, adopted the district development model in 2019. The model provides the framework for South African municipalities to tackle service delivery problems through joint and collaborative planning undertaken at local, district, metropolitan levels by all three spheres of government. We must acknowledge that as a province, we have infrastructure challenges such as those related to the quality and pricing in railing, port and rural and district roads. Despite being the center of energy generation in the nation, we have also suffered from the energy insecurity, what has affected the entire country. We wish to acknowledge the difficulties posed to business as a result of what is generally referred to as power outages or load shedding. This can be blamed on a combination of factors such as delayed commissioning of new generation capacity, the underperformance of existing and new build coal generation capacity, and the degradation of the existing Eskom coal fleet. Nevertheless, we wish to welcome national government's efforts to address these challenges. If I may cite an example, government in partnership with the private sector has embarked on the Renewable Energy Independent Power Production Procurement Program, which has attracted investment of close to 200 billion rand since its inception. Mpumalanga is ready for business, and I must mention how, as a province, we have state-owned agencies that are strategically positioned to collaborate with potential investors to remove bureaucratic red tape and ease the burden of doing business. One such agency is the Mpumalanga Economic Growth Agency, which is known as MEGA. This is a provincial development agency specifically tasked to drive growth in various sectors of the provincial economy and therefore provide opportunities to the inhabitants of Mpumalanga through the funding in respect of property development, approved enterprises, housing loans, and agricultural development, focusing primarily on previously disadvantaged individuals within the province. As the country and the province gradually recovers from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, Mega's role has become more important as we have amended its operational strategy to position it as a center of post-COVID economic recovery efforts that are focused on boosting demand, providing replacement income, and facilitating new investments. Mega will assist as part of our welcoming efforts and supportive business framework for all potential investors from the US. Mega will also ensure that qualifying investors are matched with investment incentives offered by different institutions such as National Treasury, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Department of Small Business Development, and the various agencies of this department such as SARS, IDC, NEF, and STIFA. These incentives comprises of tax incentives, matching funding, and concessional loan facilities, and may be used to construct a package of appropriate support. With these words, I wish to extend a warm welcome to all potential businesses that may wish to explore opportunities in our province. We are, of course, looking forward to further engagements and your participation in this webinar. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Premier, for those really enlightening remarks, as well as for really giving us a deep insight of the beauty of the province beyond what we see and the opportunities that are there. I really hope that the business community will hear you and really engage with your office and your team in seizing some of those opportunities. At this point in time, I am going to ask Jennifer to please play us the video.
Mpumalanga, in the Nguni languages, means the place of the rising sun. It is vibrant with potential economic growth in the new dawn. Geographic location is the greatest competitive advantage of Mpumalanga. Situated in the northeast of the country, Mpumalanga province shares a common border with Mozambique and the Kingdom of Eswatini. Its location at the heart of Moloto Corridor, connected with Limpopo province in the north and economic hub heartland of Gauteng. The bustling capital is the business hub and seat of the provincial government with easy access by the national road network, rail and regular scheduled air services. The road and rail network, the Maputo Development Corridor, through the Lowveld all the way to the Mozambican capital, has been extensively upgraded to international standards, connecting the region with external port facilities in the city of Maputo, as well as offering easy access to the South African port of Richards Bay. Land rehabilitation for economic activities is key. Support for sustainable small-scale and community farming is one of the focused areas for advancement. With robust and diverse existing industries, from mining to energy generation, from forestry to agriculture and tourism, Mpumalanga's logical infrastructure is well developed for expansion. Our top exports from the region are coal, macadamia, sugarcane, ferroalloys, manganese, timber products, and citrus fruits. The international fresh fruits market to be center of agro-processing standards and a central link of integration between Mpumalanga, Kingdom of Eswatini, and Mozambique is under construction. The abundance of byproducts of the coal industries such as fly ash, plastic and rubber molasses provides opportunities for business engagement. Mpumalanga supplies 80% of South Africa's power generation and produces 120 million tons of stainless steel. The hot and humid climate in summer positions the province for the coal to renewable energy transitional plan through the conversion of biogas, natural gas, and hydrogen, as well as solid waste to supply energy. Situated in the border town of Komatipoort, the Nkomazi Special Economic Zone offers a direct access to Maputo Development Corridor and significant tax incentives. The South African government has made a commitment to supporting and incentivizing long-term investment in green and brownfields projects. Advantages to both national and international companies operating within the special economic zone include a corporate tax rate of about 15% versus the South African national rate of 28%, a custom-controlled area with VAT exemption and duty-free zone and significant tax incentives supporting capital investment and trade. Let's grow Mpumalanga together.
Thank you so much, Premier, once again. The next speaker on our agenda after that really captivating video, I hope you are as excited as I am for the beautiful province of Mpumalanga. And I think just the video doesn't always do justice to what you may see in person, and so we hope that you will get there. But to move on with the program, I would like to introduce the MEC from Mpumalanga, Mr. Vusumuzi Mkhatshwa. He will provide a sectoral overview. Mr. Mkhatshwa is a seasoned political leader, having started his career as a chairperson of the Congress of South African Students in 1998. Since then, he has held multiple leadership roles, some of which include his current role as the MEC, or the member of the Executive Council for Finance, Economic Development and Tourism in Mpumalanga. He has held this role since February 2021, amongst various other leadership roles. Mr. Mkhatshwa, I'd really like to thank you for taking time out of your probably very busy schedule to share with us some insights and information specifically regarding the opportunities that are available within the province of Mpumalanga, and to give us a better understanding of the business landscape within the province. I'd like to hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Zama, if I'm audible, let me greet the Honorable Ambassador Umama Mfeketo, the Honorable Premier Umam Refilo Mtsweni-Tsipane, the US business community, together with the South African business community on the platform, the Director General, and Mr. Neil Diamond, and all officials, both the officials of the embassy, the Premier's office, and the Department of Economic Development and MEGA. Look, I think the Honorable Premier has done justice in her keynote and gave a clear picture of the province and the opportunities that are found within the province. And the video has equally made my job to be easy. But just to also emphasize on certain points while giving a bit of detail on others, I must indicate that the provincial government has since established MEGA as an agency that will assist the provincial government in line with its mandate to foster the sustainable growth and development of Mpumalanga's economy through our operational activities of trade and investment promotion. Also, the development of funding equity investments and property and infrastructure development. And the agency reports directly to the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. Now, we have also, and I think it is important that we indicate that we are one of the 9 provinces in South Africa as Mpumalanga, and Mpumalanga is a geographical location, which is the east. It literally means the place from where the sun comes in our local vernacular, which is Swati. Situated in the northeast of South Africa, Mpumalanga province shares, and I think this has been highlighted in the video as well, a common border in the east with the independent republics of Mozambique, the Kingdom of Eswatini, but we also have the Gauteng province bordering Mpumalanga on the west, whilst the Limpopo province to the east and KwaZulu-Natal province and the Free State to the south. And our population is sitting around 4.5 million people, with a total land area of 76,500 kilometer squares. And some of the capital cities that can be found in Mpumalanga will include the city of Mbombela, Middelburg, Malahleni, and Secunda, which host some of the major industrial complexes of South Africa. And I think it has already been indicated that we also house the Maputo Development Corridor, which is one of South Africa's leading spatial development initiative, linking Mpumalanga province, Gauteng, and the Nkomazi Special Economic Zone with the deep water port of Maputo in Mozambique. The efficient corridor provides investors and exporters with good access to the export markets of Southeast Africa, the Indian Ocean realm, and Far East Asia. The Maputo Development Corridor comprises of road, rail, and also special economic zone, borders, border post, port, and terminal facilities. So the corridor basically runs through the most highly industrialized and productive regions of Southern Africa. The corridor also has been extensively upgraded to international standards, and it links the industrial heartland of South Africa to its nearest port in Maputo, Mozambique, which is one of the fastest growing countries in Southeast Africa. And comparatively, in terms of the GDP, the Mpumalanga province is sitting around 29.6 billion US dollars, which is basically the highest as compared to Mozambique, which is sitting around 15.3, Honduras at 25.1, Costa Rica at 61.8, slightly above, Zimbabwe sitting at 21.4, Jamaica at 16.5, Iceland 24.2, Senegal at 23.4. And as a province, we will need to understand that the gross domestic product by region in 2021 was 29.5 billion US dollars, about 440 billion rand. And comparatively, Mpumalanga province has an economy almost double the size of our neighbor Mozambique, about half the size of Costa Rica's, and about the same size as the states like Jamaica, Honduras, Zimbabwe, and Senegal. And Mpumalanga accounts for 7.2% of South Africa's GDP at US dollars of 410 million. And also, now if we were to look in terms of the share per sector within the province, you will find mining sitting at 20%, manufacturing at 15%, electricity at 7%, construction at 2%, trade sitting at 4%, at 14%, and the transport sitting at 6%, finance sitting at 14%, community services were sitting at 19%, whilst agriculture is sitting at 3%. And the provincial economy of Mpumalanga is exceptionally diverse. Established industries in the province will include, as I've said, your mining, stainless steel, petrochemicals, pulp and paper, ferroalloys, energy generation, tourism and agriculture, and agro-processing, amongst others. Our major productive sector is mining at almost a fifth, which is 20% of the gross value added by region. And this followed by manufacturing, the manufacturing sector at 15%, followed by the trade sector, which includes tourism at 14%. And other important sectors of the Mpumalanga economy are agriculture, electricity generation, and community services, such as health, education, and social welfare. combined sitting at 19%. Now, the diverse agriculture sector in Mpumalanga can be divided into three, which is your Highveld region. And in the Highveld region, that's where you can find your summer cereals, your legumes, maize, soya, canola, sunflower, animal products, meat and bovine, swine, sheep, and poultry. In the Lowveld region, you find the subtropical and citrus fruits, nuts, and cane sugar. Whilst, in fact, it's the two Highveld and the Lowveld region. And the Mpumalanga province is one of South Africa's most productive and important agricultural regions and plays a key role in the export profile of South Africa, primarily in fruits and nuts. And the province's economic diversity extends into our agriculture sector, where the natural topography of the province divides this sector between the Highveld and Lowveld region. It's a point that I've just alluded to. The Highveld region is in the west of the province. It's at an elevation of between 4,000 to 6,000 feet above sea level. This allows for the large-scale and commercial production, as I've mentioned them, amongst others, your summer cereals and legumes, your soya, maize, and canola flowers. Your Highveld region also caters to commercial production of animal products like your meat and of bovine, swine, sheep, and poultry. The subtropical region of the Mpumalanga Lowveld plays a key role in agricultural export profile of the province, primarily in fruit and nuts. And Mpumalanga is one of the world, and I think I keep on emphasizing this point, that we are one of the largest producers and exporters of citrus fruit. Duty-free exports of SA citrus to the US under the African Growth Opportunity Act reached a peak of 91,000 metric tons in 2020, totaled at $94.9 million, and are expected to continue their strong annual growth as the US is still considered a premium market. Mpumalanga province is the world's largest producer and exporter of macadamia nuts, and we exported $207 million in exports in 2019, and $76 million of this to the USA. There have been major new investments in the processing facilities in Mpumalanga, and the Mpumalanga's rich agricultural produce is used by companies such as McCain, Nestle, and PepsiCo. And also we've got forestry, and forestry is a key driver for the development of Mpumalanga's rural economy and a major provider for job opportunities. 40% of SA's sustainable forests are located in Mpumalanga province. This industry comprises your logging, sawmilling, wood products, wood board, pulp and paper, as well as specialized cellulose. Main exports is your pulp, paper, and specialized cellulose, sawn lumber, wood chips, and whistle extracts. Major players in the province is your SEPI, your Safcol, your PG Basin, your York Timbers, your FX Group, and many others. And I must indicate or emphasize that forestry is a key driver for the development of Mpumalanga's rural economy and a major provider for job opportunities, as I have alluded to it earlier on. The major players, which includes your SEPI, Safcol, your Komatiland, which are the state forest company with commercial and non-commercial operations covering a land area of 187,320 hectares. Your PG Basin, Sone Arioco Portuguese Investment, York Timbers, and the new entrant, local BE company, the FX Group, who are commissioning a greenfield of 300 cubic meters per particle board plant in Lote, Khatsibande, and this is found in the Khatsibande district of the Mpumalanga. And really we are a major forestry exports, including your pulp, paper, and specialized cellulose, as I have indicated. Whilst we also have mining sitting at 20%, and mining is the province's largest single sector, providing employment to 5.2% of the province workforce. Coal at 83% of South Africa's coal production, 50% of the national coal reserves, third largest coal exporting region in the world. And coal is the lifeblood of our provincial economy, fueling 11 Eskom power plants, producing 80% of South Africa's electricity. Coal is Mpumalanga's single largest export product, shipping mainly to India and Pakistan. Other minerals in Mpumalanga that can be found is your gold mining, which takes place in Evander, Pilgrim Rest, and Barberton. Gold is the second largest export from Mpumalanga. Platinum and chrome ore mining is in the Steelport and Beresford areas in the north of the province, Bushveld Indigenous Complex. The mining services and technology industry is an important sector in Mpumalanga. Now, also, we are taking advantage of the green economy as a province, and I think it's a point that the Honorable Premier has emphasized on as well. So as a provincial government, we have really been proactive in exploring opportunities in the green economy and pursuing a just transition to a low-carbon economy which secures the future and livelihoods of workers and their communities. A just transition to a green economy presents the following opportunities for Mpumalanga. One, being your renewable energy, looking into your solar, biomass, natural gas, and associated industries. Secondly, your sustainable smart agriculture, looking into a very environmental friendly agriculture and agricultural processing. Thirdly, your cellular green economy, looking into waste recycling, water reclamation, and land rehabilitation. Fourthly, your soft infrastructure, which will include your reskilling and institutional capacity building, a carbon neutral future. And lastly, your hard infrastructure. Investment and expertise are needed in urban planning, water and waste management, greener and more energy efficient building technologies, and transport. And Mpumalanga has historically been at the heart of the South African energy and industrial complex, and is still heavily reliant on the mining and burning of fossil fuels. The Mpumalanga provincial government has been proactive in exploring these opportunities around the green economy and pursuing a just transition to a low-carbon economy. And I think this is the point that I was also alluding to it earlier on. What should be important for me not to leave out in terms of the renewable energies, that there are plans for the decommissioning of 11,000 megawatts of Eskom's coal-fired capacity by 2030. And opportunities are presented by repurposing land on the commissioned mines and coal-fired stations to pivot to renewable energy production and utilizing the existing transmission assets in the region. Opportunities of biomass power production in the forestry and agricultural sector, the vast new field of natural gas found off the coast of Mozambique could have a big impact on the Mpumalanga's economy. The existing large and sophisticated Sasol infrastructure transporting gas from Mozambique to Mpumalanga is well placed to fire up a gas-based economy. A renewable energy development zone is targeted for Emalahleni, Witbank, where coal jobs are at risk, but where grid capacity is available. This represents a great opportunity to connect new renewable energy generators while also supporting a just transition from coal workers of Mpumalanga, for the coal workers of Mpumalanga. There's sustainable smart agriculture, with Mpumalanga accounting for 46% of South Africa's high potential arable land, investment opportunities in environmental friendly agriculture and agricultural processing. Further opportunities along Mpumalanga's journey to carbon neutral future exist in the development of a cellular green economy and sustainable and green soft and hard infrastructure. More assistance like the UK government's Climate Finance Accelerator program, which supports promising climate projects to become more bankable and appealing to investors, will be welcomed to support Mpumalanga's transition to a green economy. Manufacturing, which contributes 15%. The three primary pillars of the manufacturing sector in Mpumalanga account for more than 60% of the output of the manufacturing sector. The first being your fuel, petroleum and chemical products, which are manufactured at the Sasol Secunda plant in Secunda, the world's largest synthetic fuel facility. Ferroalloys and stainless steel industries are based in the Nkangala district. Columbus Stainless Steel in Middelburg is Africa's only producer of stainless steel flat products. Samanco Chrome, the world's second largest ferrochrome producer, have 2 plants in Mpumalanga province. Agro-processing is mainly based in the Lowveld region and consists of manufacturing forestry products, and these are products that I have mentioned earlier on. Now, if I can then zoom into tourism, which contributes 6%, the importance of tourism to the economy of Mpumalanga cannot be overstated, and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic will be strongly felt. Mpumalanga received over 1 million international visitors in 2019, and this decreased to just 340,000 in 2020. The key source countries were Mozambique, Eswatini, the USA, Germany, France, and the UK. Domestic tourism has steadily increased, and the total tourist foreign direct spend in 2020 from Mpumalanga was just over 7.5 billion rand. And the Kruger National Park is Mpumalanga's most famous tourist asset, and safaris are major tourist attractions. The Manyeleti Reserve shares a fenceless border with the Kruger National Park and is operated and managed by the MTPA, which is one of our agencies as a government of Mpumalanga. The Coast Window and the Blade River Canyon are other provincial treasures attracting investment, business travel, which includes your conferencing facilities, adventures, heritage and cultural tourism, all hold huge growth potential in Mpumalanga, but require investment in infrastructure and product development. If I may get into a bit of a detail on the Kruger National Park, is that, and I've already indicated that this is the most famous tourist asset, and safaris and hunting are major tourist attractions, and that also they share the fenceless borders with Manyeleti, a 23,750 hectares game reserve sharing a fenceless border with the Kruger National Park. Is operated and managed by the Tourism and Parks Agency. The Coast Window, the Blade River Canyon, as I've indicated, remains part of our treasures as well. Now, tourism investment projects, your Bokes Lake Potholes Hotel, and this natural water wonders is a major tourism attraction in the Mpumalanga Lowveld. This project presents an investment opportunity for a 5-star hotel and a top quality restaurant. Already a feasibility study has been completed, your EIA has commenced. Your Blade River Canyon cable car project, this one is the largest and the deepest green canyon in the world and offers a spectacular opportunity to build a capable car transporting tourists from the top of the canyon to the peninsula below. And already also here visibilities have been completed and we have commenced with the EIAs. The Coast Window Skywalk project to build a skywalk, income-generating tourism attraction of the edge of the 700-meter gauze window cliff, giving a 360 panoramic view out and down through a glass floor. Here we have already completed again your feasibility studies, and we have commenced with your EIAs, but we have equally secured investors in terms of this one. Now the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce, what we can indicate here is that through MEGA, we're establishing a 1.2 billion modern fresh produce market facility located in Mbombela, and the facility will give local farmers access to local, regional, and international fresh produce markets and will aid in food security. The infrastructure of the fresh produce will attract international as well as the large domestic food retailers as a key processing and distribution point of Mpumalanga, Swaziland, and Mozambique, and secure Mpumalanga's position in the regional export market in fresh produce. To date, the province has invested an estimated amount of over 540 million rand into the project, and we have completed your feasibility studies, your EIAs, and we are about to complete the bulk infrastructure phase in terms of the top structures. And the top structures, we are about to finish them. We've finished the bulk infrastructure. The Nkomazi Economic Zone has been officially designated, and MEGA appointed to establish the entity, SEZ, and the geographically designated areas set aside for specifically targeted economic activities that are supported through special tax incentives, strategically positioned in the border town of Komati Port. The SEZ offers a multi-sector base of operations along the Maputo Development Corridor, which provides exporters with good access through Maputo Port to the export markets of Southeast Africa and the Indian Ocean realm, and also Far East Asia. The Nkomazi SEZ will target investment from the agricultural, agro-processing, naturalistic fertilizers producers, as well as strong focus on logistics and trade services. Here we are just showing what you should expect to see when you see the SEZ and it has been completed. But also here just trying to indicate the distance from the SEZ itself, with Johannesburg, which is 449 kilometers, Mbombela 103 kilometers, to Maputo, 99 kilometers, and Babane in the Kingdom of Eswatini is at 186 kilometers. Now, if we were to look to the foreign trade in perspective, these are just graphics depicting your foreign trade in total exports by value. The next one also depicts your foreign trade and export by value up to 2021. And these are now the top 10 export products to the USA from Mpumalanga in 2021. Your ferroalloys, your platinum, macadamia nuts, manganese, stainless steel, knitted or crocheted fabrics, shade cloth, carbines, plywood and laminated wood, chromium ores and collections zoologically. These are some of the top 10 export products. And in the next graph, we are also depicting there the exports by value up until 2021. I think, yeah. Now, foreign trade, your top 10 export markets from Mpumalanga in 2021 are also as enlisted there, your UAE, your PRJ, China, US, Mozambique, Japan, Korea, Netherlands, Eswatini, Indonesia, United Kingdom. And now we have also looked into the African continental free trade area. And for us, this is expected to cover all 55 African countries with an estimated combined GDP of around 2.5 US dollars or 2.5 trillion US dollars, and a population of over 1.2 billion. And in terms of the population, it will be the largest free trade area in the world. And this free trade area envisages the gradual elimination of tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade on the continent. And in terms of the export-driven manufacturing and production, Mpumalanga is well positioned to take full advantage of the economic promise of the free trade area and attract investment, thereby helping to increase income levels and reduce poverty. What I believe to be my last slide, and this is where we are trying to answer the fundamental question that brought us here today, and say, why invest in Mpumalanga? So in a nutshell, we are saying Mpumalanga's diverse and resourceful rich economy makes it one of the most attractive trade and investment destinations in South Africa, in the Southeast Africa. A large growing domestic market and excellent access supported by the world-class infrastructure to the East African and Indian Ocean markets through Maputo Port makes Mpumalanga an ideal investment location for export-driven manufacturing and production. Mpumalanga is one of South Africa's most productive and important agricultural regions, and through strategic investments in the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market and the Nkomazi SEZ, the province is set to become a major force in food production and distribution. Mpumalanga's sophisticated and well-segmented tourism sector is ripe for investment and expansion, especially in the post-COVID era. Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity. I think that's where I should end.
Thank you so much, MEC. That was really very insightful. We shared, I think, very many areas, from the agriculture to a specific focus on the mineral resources. As a keen follower of energy issues, I'm very excited to see some of the areas of development with regards to Mpumalanga's transition to the green economy that you highlighted. And really, just even on a fond note, I've done so many trips to Mpumalanga. God's Window really remains a special place in my heart. I hope that it will resonate with many speakers, with many of our attendees today, and they will seek to get themselves to Mpumalanga, both for the tourism that it offers as well as the opportunities. At this point in time, I would like to introduce Mr. Duncan Walker. Mr. Duncan Walker is currently the Deputy Counselor for the Economic Affairs Section at the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria. Prior to his current position as the Deputy Counselor for Economic Affairs, Mr. Walker completed assignments in the Port of Spain, in Recife, Brazil, in Warsaw, Poland, and Cairo. His domestic assignments have also included stints at the State Department, within the White House's Situation Room, as well as, very relevant to today's session, time spent in the office of the U.S. Trade Representative. Mr. Walker, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon in South Africa and morning here in the U.S. I'd like to hand over to you to share your remarks. Perhaps, I think you're still on mute. Mr. Walker, are you? Yes,
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Little technical problem, sorry about that. Thank you, Zama. I'm aware that I'm about almost 25 minutes behind when I was supposed to begin, so I'll try to stay disciplined on my time. I'd like to thank Her Excellency Ambassador Mafeketo and Her Excellency Premier Bishwani Tsipani. Thank you for inviting the U.S. Embassy to participate in this. I have prepared some remarks, but I think what I'll do is react a little bit to what's been said already. 2021 was a difficult year for South Africa, but it was a very good year for U.S.-South Africa trade. We had almost 21 billion in trade growth, and we hope to see more of that. Most of that growth was on the South African side, exports to the United States. So that's really quite good. And we have programs to promote trade. We had in June in Mpumalanga, our U.S. Agency for International Development, a team out to talk about how to make use of the GOA export program, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, how to expand access to it and make full use of it. But I think I'll talk a little bit more actually on investment opportunities, again, based on what I've heard here today. What do we do with the U.S. Embassy? So businesses come to us often in countries and say, is this a good place to invest as a country? And then they'll say, within the country, where are good places to invest within the country? So sometimes we act as that. The second place they'll go, of course, to investors who are already located there. So our access to you, our ability to travel within your region and talk to your development people is pretty important. We end up putting our insights into our country commercial guide and into our investment climate statement, again, which are starting points often for new investors came both to South Africa and Mpumalanga. It's a beautiful place. Everything I've heard, I've traveled there myself, and it's really gorgeous, and it's really striking the variety of industry and economic opportunity just going on the N4 corridor, from the Highveld down through the valley where you have the citrus and the forest and the bananas. It really is an incredibly rich area. So what's important to U.S. investors if looking at coming to you? What would you want us to tell U.S. investors? They want to know that you're a straight shooter, that you're not shading the difficulties that come with investing in your location. I was very impressed with Your Excellency the Premier's explanation of the challenges that face the province. They are the same challenges that face South Africa in general. Service delivery issues, infrastructure challenges, energy insecurities. It's really important to be able to hang a lantern on those sorts of things. It creates credibility with investors, and it creates credibility with us if we're advising investors of where they should come. So that's really important. I would say the second thing, and I think the speaker following me will be able to speak to this a little more, is how are you treating current investors? If they don't come to us at the U.S. Embassy or a commercial service at the consulate in Johannesburg, people who are already located there, what's their experience like? Sometimes you'll see governments, both in the United States and elsewhere in the world, are really nice to new investors to attract new investment, but they're not as nice as they could be in terms of making business less difficult than it might otherwise be for people already located there. But new investors are looking to current investors. That's where they're coming. So that's part of the business of attracting new investors. You've talked about MEGA, your new development entity within Mpumalanga. To what degree is MEGA a one-stop shop? That's a very important thing to potential investors. Is MEGA just one additional signature they have to get, or is MEGA able to gather all those other signatures into one place so that businesses can have ease of entry, less friction going in? Mpumalanga lacks some of the business network with American companies that, say, Halteng might have, or Western Cape. So the question is, when I enter in without those pre-existing business networks to pave the way for me, how easy is my first initial experience? Can you couple a lot of agencies together? That's really important. And it sounds very positive from what I heard from the previous speaker, the sectoral analysis, that you're serious about it, but I just want to put that in. And then another thing might be, to what degree are you prepared to take advantage of unique opportunities? And then what I'm going to mention now is the Just Energy Transition Partnership between South Africa and the United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, and the EU. It's about $8.5 billion on the table to advance clean energy solutions. There was a good presentation in the previous slideshow about clean energy opportunities. But the national government right now is putting together an investment plan that will present to the International Partners Group next week, at least a preview of it anyway, not the completed one. And then we're trying to match money to investment opportunities here in South Africa. How aggressive is Mpumalanga at talking to its national government to be part of those investment projects, both in terms of clean energy, but also in just transition portions? The international partners are really quite serious about. Some people will be left behind in transition. There'll be opportunities, but also be some dislocations. We want to make sure that we make people whole and keep people right. Are you having detailed discussions with the national government, with the Secretary for South Africa? Because that's a unique opportunity, substantial money. Again, both in green energy, but also social just transition programs. I think you are, based on the slide, talking about the opportunities there, but I just wanted to raise that. All these present a very positive picture, I have to say, listening to the presentation before. Certainly, I would have no difficulty telling U.S. companies to come look at Mpumalanga and talk to the mega. And maybe if you have development people at the MEC level, like Mr. Mixwata, that would be a positive first step. So maybe I'll stop there. I'm looking right at my 5-minute limit, and I don't want to go over that. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walker. As I was just reflecting at the end there, I was wondering if maybe we should have included you in our Q&A, seeing as you gave us some food for thought with regards to some questions. So thank you very much for that. Thank you also for sharing on the support that the embassy offers to businesses interested in doing business in South Africa. I'll now hand over to Mr. Nyimbini Mabunda, who is the CEO of General Electric Southern Africa. Mr. Mabunda has over 25 years of leadership experience in the major consumer goods, food, franchise, and telecommunications business across Africa and the United Kingdom. He's also been very excitedly appointed as the chair of the U.S. Chamber for U.S. South Africa Business Council, which I believe makes your engagement with us today really straight up your alley, and with regards to kind of maybe ticking off some some of your KRAs with regards to your work in strengthening the economic relationship between the United States and South Africa. What I've said is by no means an exhaustive list of Mr. Mabunda's experience and achievements, but I think you'll find that in the booklet. What I would like to do is allow you to experience him through his remarks. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Zama, for those kind words of introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. In the interest of time, I'll be quick with the protocols, but sad to say, acknowledge and thank Honorable Premier for hosting us, and also to acknowledge Her Excellency Ambassador Beckett. Business people joining us from South Africa and the United States, my colleagues at the U.S. Chamber, all protocol observed. Zama, what you didn't mention, and it's quite special to me, is that these remarks are also quite personal. I do this a lot in my capacity, my official capacities, but for Mpumalanga, it goes beyond that, because I am the son of Mpumalanga, having been born in Role, the village, which is part of Greater Bushbuckridge. And I was listening quite fondly and with excitement, listening to both the Premier as well as the MEC talking about areas which I know very well, I grew up in and have visited. What I was asked to do is to share a perspective from a long-term investor in Mpumalanga, which GE is. And this perspective really comes from the fact that we as GE have been in South Africa for about 120 years. And South Africa, in fact, was the first market outside of the US where GE invested. But more specifically, as you heard from the various remarks, Mpumalanga generates about 80% of South Africa's electricity. And ourselves as GE, we pride ourselves in the fact that we generate about 33% of the global power. And in South Africa, through our major customer, Eskom, we are an installed base in pretty much all of their power stations, most of which are in Mpumalanga. So through that, we have had an experience of dealing directly with the authorities in Mpumalanga through really great times, but also through challenging times. And I wanted to really share an investor perspective of Mpumalanga. Before I do that, obviously for completion's sake, let me also say GE is also involved in healthcare as a medical systems manufacturer. So a lot of our equipment is in Mpumalanga hospitals and indeed all over the world. We are also in the aviation business where we are one of the largest manufacturers of aircraft engines. But I really, to the extent that the investment team in Mpumalanga focused on Mpumalanga's key role in just transition and energy transition, I want to zone in on some of the things that we are doing from an energy space, and of course, being mindful of time. Our most recent project in Mpumalanga has been at Kusile Power Station, where we were appointed as an engineering, procurement, and construction, or what you call EPC, for the quality turbine island and air-cooled condensers. In addition to this, GE Steam Power, through our Steam Power division, are busy constructing first of its kind environmental control technology system in Africa, the wet flue gas desulfurization plant at Kusile site, which helps the emission released from the thermal power generation process are kept specified below the environmental generation. This is quite important as you heard the MEC talk about the green economy, but also the decarbonization and sustainability. And indeed, this is very, very important as we look ahead to COP27 and some of the commitments that we've made in COP26. So we're really proud about that. Kusile is quite important because upon completion, it will add 6 by 800 megawatts, which again, given the latest rounds of load shedding and some of the challenges we have in from an economic growth point of view, it's much needed in the economy. What has been important and experienced for us over the years, what we found working with the Mpumalanga authorities and stakeholders is the accessibility and positive intent from the government. Quite often, especially with the so-called big regions of Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape, they're just too busy with many things. But in Mpumalanga, though they've got a diversified economy and industries, but the authorities are available for engagement, for debate, for guidance. And I think that is quite important. To give you an example, we have engaged with the Department of Health, as well as the Department of Education and local municipalities, who have made themselves available for various projects and to assist, particularly with some of the community issues, which at times and social issues that we face that impacts the project. And we had found that through the engagement with multiple stakeholders guided by the government, we've been able to achieve a lot of things there. What we also like about Mpumalanga is that the local economies are improving and the skill, while in the past we would have challenges, particularly with the skills in some of the specialized areas. Mpumalanga is really tackling that project hands-on through apprenticeship and the Mpumalanga universities, the skill development and the growth of SMEs that we know that we need to engage with for enterprise development and to make sure that there is sustainability. SMEs and partnering with them has been very important because of job creation. We know that entrepreneurship is the one that really drives the growth of the economy. Lastly, but more importantly, I think it's important that when you partner with Mpumalanga, and this has been our experience, we create a win-win solutions. We cannot, as business, operate in isolation and ignorance to some of the social challenges that Mpumalanga has. And therefore, we need to be part of the solution through partnership and understanding what are the priorities of the government and making sure that for sustainability, we partner with them. So I'll give you just 3 quick examples. GE teamed up with Mpumalanga to launch a 2-year apprenticeship program to train unemployed youth in artisanal skills. The MESETA accredited program aligns to government goals outlined in National Development Plan and White Paper of Post-School Education to produce 30,000 artisans by 2030. Since the introduction of the program, already in Mpumalanga alone, we have over 1,000 artisans that have been trained and qualified as welders, engineers, fitters, and boil makers. Another example is where we partnered with the Department of Education to refurbish, upgrade, and construct over 12 schools through the GE Steam Power School Infrastructure Upgrade Program. And lastly, the The project that is ongoing right now, and Honorable Premier was supposed to launch it, but in the last minute something happened, couldn't, and it was commissioned by the MEC Manzini, is we broke ground last year for a 70 million 10-key community primary clinic project in Butleng, Extension 6, to address the healthcare demand in the area. Upon completion, which is in 2022, is still under construction, this clinic will not only serve the immediate needs of Butleng community, but will receive patients from neighboring communities, offering full primary healthcare solutions, including 24-hour ER, maternity, medical dispensary, and COVID-19 solutions. So in conclusion, I think SGE, our experience partnering, investing, and working with Mpumalanga stakeholders has been positive, not without challenges, but where we have had challenges, the authorities have been readily available to engage, debate, and find solutions. We look forward to continue the partnership, particularly as we partner with Mpumalanga in their energy transition and just transition, because we do know that as the largest producer and exporter of coal, there are challenges going forward in terms of shift to renewable. And we as GE are very, very strong in the energy transition around the world. And we look forward to continue that partnership to make sure that the Triple P set up meets. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
Thank you so much, sir. Son of the soil of Mpumalanga. That was very, I'm sure, very much touching to the hearts of our esteemed guests, the MEC and Honorable Premier, I'm sure. Thank you so much for sharing those remarks. Also very encouraged by one thing, many things you said, but particularly this emphasis on businesses also then being part of solutions within the province and within the country, and really looking at the private partnership model. I think the artisanal apprenticeship program that you spoke with is a really a very practical and very needed component. So thank you very much for sharing, sir. At this point in time, I do apologize, we are running behind time, but I still am going to be calling up on our next speaker, Ms. Kendra Gaither, who is the Vice President of the US Africa Business Center and also serves as the Executive Director for the US South Africa Business Council. Ms. Kendra Gaither is all of these things and more. She is also a very good partner to the embassy with regards to us being doing this series now for, this must be the 4th session. So Kendra is very well versed in the sessions, but also just in the relationship between South Africa and the US. She has extensive experience there, having spent time also as in her capacity previously at the US Department of State. One of her stints was at the South Africa desk, and so she has a very intimate knowledge of the country as well as the Sub-Saharan Africa region as a whole. Kendra, thank you so much for leading this fireside chat. I would also like to call on again at this point in time the Premier to engage with Kendra. I'll stop there because we are also running behind time. My apologies, Kendra, but I know you will do a sterling job still. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Program Director. And if I might, in the interest of time, just say good morning and good afternoon to all, with all protocols observed, to our distinguished hosts and distinguished speakers. If I might, I'd like to open just with a quick note that our U.S. Chamber of Commerce and our U.S. South Africa Business Council are indeed delighted to partner in this series and see it as a key opportunity to help the U.S. companies and South African companies better understand where they can find connection. And so as I reflect on that, I would like to thank the Honorable Premier for the warm welcome given to the business community and the acknowledgement of the commitment that we have made as a business institution, as a council, to try and redouble our efforts to bring those linkages together. And I can say, Premier, judging from the chat box, the comments that you made in your keynote, as well as those that we've heard from our distinguished speakers, have inspired a lot of questions, and I regret we won't have time to capture all of them, but I would share with you just a few, and if our audience would indulge us for a few additional minutes to hear from the Honorable Premier, I know that you will be well rewarded with her comments. So with that, Honorable Premier, if I might start in the area of sustainability, as we heard quite a bit about that from the MEC, from Mr. Mabunda speaking on behalf of GE, and from yourself, we know that Mpumalanga is really at the center of South Africa's just energy transition and its current energy production, and recently received a visit from high officials who were seeking to support that transition. I'm wondering, Premier, if you could share with our audience, for those members particularly who've been active in the chat box, could you share with us a little bit more about how U.S. investors can indeed be good partners in supporting Mpumalanga's current energy mix, as well as that transition to renewable clean energy?
Thank you very much, Kendra, for the question. And I am going to be elaborative on this question, as this is very much closer to my heart. I'm going to start off by saying that as Mpumalanga, historically, this has been at the heart of the South Africa's energy and industrial complex, and is still heavily reliant on the mining and burning of fossil fuels. The Mpumalanga provincial government has been proactive in exploring opportunities in the green economy and pursuing a just transition to a low carbon economy, which secures the future and the livelihood of workers and their communities. Achieving such a just transition would require an integration of economic opportunities in sectors outside the energy and mining. A just transition to a green economy presents the following opportunities for us in Mpumalanga. The renewable energy, there are plans for the decommissioning of about 11,000 megawatts of Eskom coal-fired capacity by 2030. Opportunities are therefore presented by repurposing land on decommissioned mines and coal-fired stations to pivot to renewable energy production and utilization of existing transmission assets in the region. Opportunities for biomass power production in the forestry and agricultural sector as well. The vast new fields of natural gas found off the coast of Mozambique could have a big impact on the Mpumalanga economy. The existing large and sophisticated Sasol infrastructure transporting gas from Mozambique to Mpumalanga is well placed to fire up a gas-based economy. A renewable energy development zone is targeted for Emalahleni, one of our municipality previously known as Witbank, where coal jobs are at risk, but where grid capacity is available. This represents a great opportunity to connect new renewable energy generators, whilst also supporting just transition for coal workers of Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga recognizes that climate change is one of the greatest global issues facing humanity, threatening its survival. Its impact has already taken a toll on Mpumalanga's economy and social infrastructure, ecosystem services, and biodiversity. As Mpumalanga, we understand the contribution that should be made by South Africa's commitment to working with other countries to keep average global warming to not more than 1.5 Celsius degrees. As we know that Mpumalanga is highly dependent on coal sector produce, close to about 85% of South Africa's coal, and is home to 12 of South Africa's coal-fired power stations. As a result of that, a disproportionate share of the country's GHG emissions originate from the province. In mitigating climate change, we need to develop best value sustainable solutions in a holistic and integrated approach to support socially equitable and green economic development and environmental protection. Looking at the massive and importance of coal sector's contributions to the province's economy, measures should be in place to support our communities, our workers and municipalities in achieving and driving just transition away from fossil fuels to renewable energy technologies. It is also critical to provincial climate change response as a centralized source of energy of the country. Therefore, just transition means a people-centered social and economic transformation that creates inclusive, sustainable economies and societies that achieve social, economic, and environmental goals. Politically, this means a wholesale transformation of the energy system, economy, and society, which seeks to integrate an integrated approach to sustainable development to bring together social progress, environmental production, and economic success into a framework of democratic governance. This is an opportunity to address socio-economic challenges that we are already facing in the province, including economic dependency and the challenge associated with coal use and phase out of coal, the environmental legacy of coal mining and power generation on land, food and water, economic diversification of the provincial economy to make it more robust and resilient to future trends, protecting workers, local communities and municipalities that are dependent on the current structure of the economy, and addressing the land and water constraints that impact their livelihoods. As the province, we will collaborate with partners to leverage its existing grid infrastructure, and will also accelerate our provincial renewable energy projects through programs such as the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program, while ensuring these projects contribute to transformation, job creation, and local economic development. Therefore, as Mpumalanga, we would further seek to diversify our local economy away from coal by promoting the green economy, particularly in relation to climate resilient agriculture, which is climate smart agriculture, the transportation, which is electric vehicle manufacturing and other associated value chain, forestry, which is biogas and biomass production, circular economy, water processing plants and waste to energy initiatives, and the biodiversity, which affects the ecotourism economy. The development of the provincial just transition phase one plan has synergy with the following policies: the Mpumalanga Vision 2030, the Mpumalanga Green Economy Plan, the Mpumalanga Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Strategies to transform Mpumalanga economy into one that is sustainable and inclusive of all the transition that is fair and just, with procedural, distributive, and restorative elements. The multi-level structural, which are called Just Transition and Climate Change Working Group, will ensure that those elements are also realized. And therefore, we want to indicate that as the province, we are pleased with the visit of the COP president to South Africa. He has been featured to speak during the Mpumalanga Energy Summit, which was held on the 24th to the 25th of May 2022 in Emalahleni in our province. And unfortunately, he could not afford due to other commitment. And I must further state that the just transition is premised on crowding in investment and job creation efforts. All these efforts would not be a success without deploying innovative technologies from all like-minded innovators across the globe, especially the USA with its rich history of cutting-edge innovations, which is renewed. We therefore invite all ecologically and sustainably aligned tech innovators to work with us in our just transition effort. And I promise there is a role for everyone to play in this regard. The support that we are requiring it would include, not limited, of course, to the following: energy, the water purification, preservation technologies, the climate smart agriculture. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Premier. I think we can all take away from your comments, both the invitation to be partners and to be present, which we appreciate greatly, but also the breadth of thoughtful development and planning that has been undertaken for this key work. If I might ask, given how active our chat is, there's a real hunger from the community on this webinar, as well as our business community writ large. Is there a place that you might direct those who are interested to be able to access these plans, or a point of contact within the provincial government where investors might seek additional information about how to be good partners? That has been a frequent question in the Q&A.
Well, everyone who's interested to partner with us as Mpumalanga, certainly we welcome such initiatives, and we would invite them to contact us through our MEGA, which is the Mpumalanga Economic Agency, and we can do that through the Office of the Premier, which is also central in this regard. So in that way, we should be able to continuously have this conversation and be able to sell our initiatives and our thoughts as a province insofar as the economic mainstreaming is concerned. And any investment in terms of what has been presented before yourself, it is much more welcome, so that we can ensure that there is sustainability, both in terms of economic development and social amenities within our communities. Thank you very much, Kendra.
Thank you so much, Honorable Premier. In the interest of time, I'll just ask one last question, if I may. Again, reflecting the enthusiasm of the online community for today's conversation, we saw a number of questions that related to how businesses might find one another, how, if there were services to engage the diaspora, to invite them to be invested, and quite a number of requests from within the community seeking business partners from companies of all shapes and sizes. I'm wondering, as a closing question for this fireside chat, if you could share with us maybe a key takeaway that you would like the American business community to take away from this conversation, be it a small or medium enterprise or a large US investor like we heard from in the form of General Electric. All of these companies are seeking partners and to be good partners to the businesses in Mpumalanga and to the provincial government. Is there something that you would like them to leave from this webinar, understanding or knowing about those opportunities for partnerships, or how they can better engage to be partners in the very detailed strategy that your team has developed for growth?
Kendra, thank you very much for the question. As highlighted earlier on in detail in the emissary's presentation, as Mpumalanga, we are abound with so many opportunities of all types of investors, be they small or large investors. The strategic location of our province means access to some of the other regional, continental, and international markets for those who use Mpumalanga as their base. We have adopted sound macroeconomic policies to ensure that no investor is not catered for. The diversity of our economy sectors ensure that all types of investors can find relevance in the province. Our world-class infrastructure also gives us a competitive edge. It is for these reasons that we look forward to welcoming investors from the USA to the province of the Rising Sun, where we stand ready to assist you with all your investment needs, be it in mining, agriculture, energy, and tourism. That's where you would be strategically located within the province of the Rising Sun, which is Mpumalanga. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. Certainly, we took note of that important geographic positioning and the great business fundamentals that you mentioned. And I can assure you that our companies are considering opportunities in Mpumalanga for Mpumalanga's sake, but as your MEC noted, the strength of the economy in Mpumalanga and its location to take advantage of the AFCFTA, I can assure you, you will have many taking up the kind welcome and invitation you have extended. And so let me, on behalf of our business community, express appreciation to you for this conversation today. As I now turn the microphone back over to our program director. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kendra, for the questions. And yes, we are looking forward to doing business with your good selves.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kendra, and thank you so much, Premier, once again, for really just getting into the heart of the issues and the questions. Having been active on the chat, answering some of them, Kendra was right. There was a serious hunger for some of them. Before we close, I would like to give the opportunity for one last question from the US business community through Mr. Neil Diamond, who is already on screen. Mr. Diamond, if you could please share your question, and then we will end with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zama, for this opportunity. And then let me first just greet our Honorable Ambassador, Nomaindia Mfeketu, and the Premier of Mpumalanga, Premier Mtsweni Tabani, as well as MEC Vusi Mkhatshwa, with which I had the privilege to work with in the city of Mbombela. Premier, you need not be concerned that I am a vocal advocate for investment into our beautiful province of Mpumalanga in all sectors, and first and foremost, our sectors that benefit our broader community, especially sectors of tourism. We know that Mpumalanga is a safe investment destination for foreign direct investment, and that the district development model has worked wonderful in making Mpumalanga a desired investment destination. Capital within the United States is readily available, and I think that what we are looking for is really the opportunities where the South African business community in the US, as well as our US business partners, can invest in a province like Mpumalanga. Premier, you've highlighted through MEC Mkhatshwa's presentation a number of those flagship opportunities that are in there, but I was hoping that you would maybe just share with us some of the secondary and tertiary opportunities that would arise. I'm specifically thinking of the fresh produce market that are under construction, and I know that the opportunities for investment into agro processing, agro development, as well as agro export is quite big within the province. And then maybe just the focus or the commitment of the provincial government in terms of tourism. Tourism is a core sector that benefits our people on the ground. And as South Africans in the United States, we can play an active role in ensuring that tourism is promoted to our beautiful province of Mpumalanga. Premier, let me just say in closing, like Mr. Mabunda, I am a son of the province of Mpumalanga, and this was such a privilege to re-engage and connect with your good self as Premier and MEC Mkhatshwa on this webinar today. Thank you so much for allowing me the question, Zama.
Just to clarify, Mr. Diamond, the question was directed at the Premier or the MEC? Oh, okay, there we go. I think the Premier is about to answer. Thank you.
Okay. No, certainly what he is saying, it's very much important, Zama. That is one of the initiatives which is located in the town of Mbombela. Now, what we have done as Mpumalanga, we have built the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market, which is a modern fresh produce market and agro-processing complex, which is located, as I've indicated earlier on, in Mbombela municipality. This facility will give producers access to local, regional, and international fresh produce markets and will aid in regional food security. Now, the infrastructure of the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market will attract international as well as the large domestic food retailers as a key processing and distribution point of Mpumalanga, Mpumalanga, Swaziland, and Mozambique. Now, of critical to this, one of the key highlights which would be linked to this Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce is the Nkomazi Special Economic Zone. This is the first SEZ to be established in Mpumalanga province, and it is strategically positioned in the border town of Komatipoort, which is about 100 kilometers away from the Maputo port. The Nkomazi SEZ offers a multi-sector base of operations along the Mpumalanga Development Corridor, which provides exporters with good access through Maputo port to the export markets of Southeast Africa, the Middle East, through the UAE and the Far East Asia. Now, the Nkomazi SEZ will also target investment from the agriculture, agro-processing, fertilizers production, as well as the strong focus on logistics and trade services. I think those are the key projects that we are running as Mpumalanga. And we must indicate that insofar as the international produce, a lot of work we've already done in terms of setting up the hubs within the province, where we would be sourcing all the produce across the country and then let them be processed through the agri-hubs, which we have established in all 3 regions that we have, which will then be taken into the international produce and be readily available for exportation purposes. So I think it was very critical, and thank you very much, Mr. Diamond, for raising that question, as it is very critical at this point in time. However, we want to indicate that in this international fresh produce market, yet again, we want to invite investors to come and invest into the international fresh produce market, and we are prepared, more than prepared, to run it as a public-private entity, which will then give solution to food security across the globe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Premier. I think you have worked extremely hard on all these questions this evening. I hope you won't shy away next time when we come knocking on your door saying that we make you work overtime. But thank you so much. I think your insights is incredibly necessary. And as indicated also by Ms. Kendra Gaither, that the chat box really was just bustling in response to some of the remarks that you shared and that were shared by the MEC as well as our earlier speakers. At this point in time, I do apologize to our participants and to our speakers for running over time, but I also do want to thank you very much to all our esteemed speakers for sharing your time, for sharing your invaluable insights, and for highlighting the various supports that is available either through the provincial offices as well as through the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria, as well as the efforts that are being conducted by businesses such as General Electric. Thank you so much. Thank you also to our audience joining from South Africa and the U.S. and through the various embassies and high commissions internationally that also supported today's efforts. I've thoroughly enjoyed guiding this discussion. I've also enjoyed the stimulating inputs that have come out through the chat. I would like to wish everyone a very good day further, and to once again thank you all for spending this time with us. The recordings for this are not necessarily going to be sent out to speakers, but I do want to highlight that it will be available on demand through Mpumalanga's YouTube page. So if you just log on to there, you should be able to view the session again. In closing, on behalf of Ambassador Mfeketo and the Embassy of South Africa, thank you so much to all our speakers and to all our participants for joining today.
Thank you for having us, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier.
No, this is very good. Yeah, we must have more of this. I've got a good feeling about it. Yeah. But